Get your flirt on. It's okay to flirt. Make it known that you're a hot item. That's totally fine. It's good. It's good for the soul.
Oh, wake up, rethink the status quo. When you get your money right, then you're the one who runs your life. Come build a wealthy spirit with Sammy and Michelle.
Spicy.
Spicy indeed. When people think of bachelorettes and bachelor parties, we think strippers, we think boozy nights, we think Chippendales dressed as firemen, and brides or grooms having their last hurrah. But you know what's really traumatizing? Looking at your credit card statement afterwards.
I spent how much money? We're so excited to talk about bachelorette and bachelor parties today. We'll be talking mostly about bachelorettes, but the same rules seem to apply for both. The thing is, I recently went on a bachelorette. I actually have another one coming up in a month, and I really, really love them. This is, I think, my sixth bachelorette that I've been to, my seventh one that I've been invited to, and they're always a really, really good time. But here's the thing. Bachelorettes are a huge line item, especially for me when I'm often traveling to go see my friends somewhere. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about, hey, this is expensive. What is going on? What should you expect? How do you make a decision on whether or not you should go? And just taking a little bit of a deep dive into all things around bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, and planning your finances.
And I got some fun clips from The Bachelorette that we're going to weave into this episode.
Let's get into it.
But before we start, I wanted to introduce our listeners to a podcast that I've been really enjoying. It's called The Me Bet, which is hosted by Erica, and she interviews people who are doing something different in life because they're basically taking a bet on themselves. I'm actually going to be on an upcoming episode of The Me Bet. Erica and I had a lovely conversation about my journey out of the corporate world into taking a sabbatical, into being more of a creator. And so it was really cool to have that conversation with her. And she's been interviewing a lot of really interesting people from different stages of life, people who are parents, people who are entrepreneurs, actors, and really just taking a look into, hey, what does it actually mean when you decide to take a bet on yourself? So I highly recommend listening to The Me Bet, and we will link it in our show notes. Now back to our topic. Sammy, what's really interesting is we found this piece from savings.com, 2022 Bachelorette Party Spending Report, where they surveyed over 500 people on the financial side of bachelor and bachelorette parties. It was a really interesting study, and so we're going to be weaving that into this episode because we found it to be super accurate to what our own experiences were. But one thing that surprised me, Sammy, more than 1 in 2 attendees took on credit card debt to attend a bachelor or bachelorette party. That means that for my last party, that would have been about 7 women going into credit card debt to attend.
That's insane to me, but I 100% believe it. Because savings.com also said that the average cost of a bachelor or bachelorette party is $1,500.
That's crazy, Sammy. And one of the reasons we want to talk about that today is because money is a taboo topic. And I think for me, when I was younger, I didn't really anticipate all the different expenses that come up for a bachelorette party. And if you're not talking about it ahead of time, if you're not thinking about it as a planner, then there can be a lot of hostility that comes out of the experience that really should be about getting together and celebrating the time with the bride.
I remember back in 2019, I had just heard about FIRE and I was getting super into tracking my spending. Like I was tracking every single thing that I spent. And we had 2 bachelorettes that year, at least 2. And I remember I tallied up everything. And yes, there's the costs like the Airbnb and eating out. But there's little costs too, like getting a massage or buying new outfits for the event. And I included all of that in a tally for each bachelorette that we went to. And shockingly, savings.com is correct. It was about $1,500 each. Like it was literally like $1,547 for one and like 15 something else for the other. That was almost like right on the money for how much I spent at my bachelorette parties.
It's so true, Sammy. It's funny because when I was actually starting to think about both this bachelorette party I went to in Miami and I'm going to one in another month in upstate New York, immediately I was like, okay, this will cost me probably around $1,500 to go to each one. And honestly, it was really freeing to just recognize that and say, okay, I have a sense of how much this is going to cost. Let me now make the decision about whether or not I want to attend. What is it going to mean to me? What is it going to mean to my friends? Do I need to do this? Those are the type of things that I thought about before I committed to actually going to the bachelorette party. And I'm going to be honest, once I made the decision to attend, which I was really excited about, I didn't really think about the money again because I knew that it was all adding up to that $1,500 total. And for me, I spent about $1,800 to go to this bachelorette. That includes everything: gas, flight, hotel, outfits, gifts, food, things like that. Airport food. So that includes a lot of phantom cost as well. But it was funny because it was right around that like $1,600 to $1,800 mark.
So maybe you're thinking about going to a bachelorette and you're debating, should I go? Should I not go? I think a big way to anticipate the cost beforehand is to know your base cost. And you can estimate that by looking at the big costs. For example, how much is the flight going to be? This year, I actually had a bachelorette party that was driving distance from where I live, which is rare for me. And that was a game changer because I could literally just drive there, and that cut down on the whole flight cost, and that bachelorette probably cost a few $100s total.
And the best part, Sammy, was with all the leftover food, they gave it to you because they couldn't fly home with it.
Literally, they're like, here's some food, here's some drinks, not alcoholic drinks. I was able to take that back with me, and we had food for like a week.
Yeah, Sammy and I ate like kings.
That bachelor is probably like a net zero cost overall.
No, it's so true, Sammy. I mean, for me, immediately I knew this was going to be in Miami. So that's already a high cost of living city. Any event we're going to do is going to cost more. I went through and I actually looked at how much the flights are going to cost. I factored that in immediately. I said, okay, if I fly during this time period, I did a rough estimate looking at how much the flights are going to cost. I even looked up Airbnbs. I said, okay, if this is the typical Airbnb cost, if say like 10 or 15 girls are going, this is what I can expect. And I don't think it's bad to do a rough estimate like that because the last thing you want is for those costs to be the ones that shock you. At the end of the day, my flight and room was the biggest cost. It cost about $1,100 to both fly there and then stay in Miami for 3 nights. So you can figure out even before going what that cost is going to look like.
And a good question to ask the organizers is, are you guys going to be covering the bride's cost? My first few bachelorette parties, we didn't cover the bride's flight or hotel. It wasn't even on my radar that would be something that was covered. I was like, yeah, we'll buy her a drink at the bar. But nowadays, a lot of bachelorettes or bachelor parties, it's common for people to cover the hotel cost or the flight cost of the bride. And that's a good thing to know ahead of time because that will be included in your overall base cost.
Yeah, that was a really interesting suggestion from savings.com. I'll be honest, I've never asked before and no one has ever asked me. So it does end up being a surprise sometimes, but it really varies. Like sometimes you don't pay, sometimes the siblings pay, sometimes the bridal party pays. So it really depends too on how many people are there. Like I think between the 16 women that were at this bachelorette party, I don't know how much extra cost we were really bearing. But if you're doing a small bachelorette party with like 4 or 5 people, that's definitely going to add up.
So maybe you're looking at the bachelorette party or the bachelor party. It seems like you could probably go, but it seems like it's kind of on the edge of your budget. I think a lot of times, not all the events, not all the activities are mandatory, and that's something to consider beforehand.
Yeah, I agree, Sammy. I mean, something I realized is you're going to these events, and a lot of times, like for example, this event, the bride wanted us to wear neon outfits one day and metallic outfits the other day. There is gifts. Obviously, there's multiple meals. We went to a pool party. And I was happy to participate in everything, but you also don't have to. For example, there were women who maybe wore an outfit that they had that was close to the theme, but not the same.
Maybe they're wearing maroon when it's supposed to be red. And I was like, oh, I didn't know you could just wear maroon.
I guess she'll be taking the photos. No, it's true. Like, you don't necessarily have to participate in all of that. I think most brides are at least most brides I know are pretty chill. And it's not the end of the world. Yeah, maybe let everybody get a photo with all the matching outfits. So I think just keep an eye on those type of things. I did spend a little bit of extra money, like renting an outfit, buying some outfits, but I also don't do a lot. So I really had fun, like, leaning into the themes. But I also knew that, like, when I was getting in late one night, so I wasn't going to be going out. And I was like, okay, I guess I don't need a metallic outfit because, like, I'm not going to be going out that night. So you can lean into whatever things that you want to do. Those things are definitely optional. Like, I think sometimes I think they're not because I'm, like, so hype about bachelorette parties, but, like, people kind of pick and choose. And if you don't want to go to an event, you might even just want a break. You know, it's a lot. It's a big itinerary. And sometimes you're waking up hungover. Sometimes you just want to be alone if you're very introverted. Like, this bachelorette party I went to had a lot of breaks built in, which was really nice. And I think one of the advantages of being older and people being accustomed to planning these things. But I think it's okay to tell people ahead of time, like, hey, like, I'll probably be taking a break during that time, or I need to work, or something like that.
As you know, Michelle, I like to go to bed on time and early. So a strategy that I have found is usually there will be somebody at the bachelorette who is pregnant. This probably doesn't work at bachelor parties. And I make sure that me and that pregnant woman can get home on time and safely so that we can rest.
You know, actually, being pregnant or having a pregnant attendee, like, that's happened to us a few times. And it is interesting because, for example, like, I don't drink. And so if somebody is pregnant, like, neither of us are drinking. And people are always happy to accommodate, like, not charging the pregnant person for drinks, not having them go in on, like, the booze and things like that. So people are also, I find, very flexible. Like, if they know you don't drink, for not charging you for those type of things.
You know, I'm glad you brought up the drinking because that is actually an important one. Sometimes, especially with really, really large meals where there's just no way that that's going to be split individually, I personally just choose to accept that I'm going to be taking on some extra cost for other people's drinks. And that lets me have some peace rather than trying to be like, oh, like, this person bought a $14 drink and this person bought a this and that. And truthfully, it's, you know, one or two meals, I'm okay with taking the hit.
Yeah, I agree, Sammy. I think if you are doing something like not drinking during the bachelorette, it's good to at least go in with an understanding of what's going to bother you or what's not. I let people know ahead of time that I'm not drinking so that if there was an event where they were planning to buy drinks or they had to, like, prepay things, then I'm like, hey, like, you don't have to worry about me. Like, I won't be buying drinks. And it was really nice. Like, the women who organized this one, they actually didn't charge me for, like, the alcohol that was bought for the Airbnb. They didn't charge me for the pre-dinner where everybody just got drinks and I didn't really get anything. And so I really appreciated that. But I would also understand, you know, when we went to dinner and a few people got drinks, like, I didn't really care that we're splitting it because we're 10 women at a table. I don't want to handle the bill, so I'm okay splitting, like, a few drinks. And I got a coffee too because I was tired. So on the flip side, we did get a cabana for the pool party when we were in Miami. And so that was a big cost for the bachelorette party. But even though technically you're buying drinks to hit your minimum, we ordered food as well. I did not mind paying because I do find that when you're in a club or if you're in a beach party, you're actually paying for the space. And so I had absolutely no problem paying for that. And for me, like, that's totally fine. Like, I was happy with that decision.
That's a great point, Michelle. And if that is something that's really important to you, like making sure things get split evenly, you definitely want to talk about that beforehand. Ideally, you would put it on your card and be the one who calculates it out and then charges everybody. If that's not possible for you, then it may even be worth skipping those events.
Yeah, agreed. I don't say this has to be a rule of thumb, but Sammy and I sort of have this thing where if we want the bill to be split a specific way instead of evenly among everybody, we do think it's good to be the one that takes that burden on. I, for one, hate doing the math. I hate having to charge everybody. And so if we do it evenly, I'm happy to pay a little bit of extra. If for whatever reason it's going to be like an insane difference, which I've never noticed at bachelorette parties, but like maybe that'll happen at dinner, then I'm willing to put my card down and then Venmo everybody.
And speaking of Venmo and charging people, Organization at a bachelorette party or bachelor party is key.
Yes, Sammy. And in 2023, there are a lot of tools you can use to really have a solid, well-organized party.
One tool is Splitwise.
If you don't know what Splitwise is, oh my gosh, your life is going to be changed.
Oh, it'll be changed.
Basically, everybody signs up for Splitwise, and you can assign costs to specific people. So, for example, when it came down to paying for the rental that we were staying at, the woman could put in the cost and split it between 14 people. But she can also split 3 nights for one person or 2 nights for the woman who came later. You can do splits between 2 or 3 people if you share an Uber together or if you buy extra snacks together. So it's a really nice, easy way to split up your costs, let them add up over the weekend, and then everybody can pay whoever they need to pay once all costs are in. So if you're not using Splitwise for your big events, you definitely should be. And we have no affiliation with them.
Maybe we should.
Maybe we should. We should.
And the nice thing about Splitwise too is, like, let's say I owe Michelle $100 and she owes me $50. It will just say that I owe Michelle $50. Like, it'll do that math and it'll tell you exactly what you owe everybody, considering all the charges. I remember the very first bachelorette I went to way back in bachelorette times when one of my first friends was getting married. People were reluctant to get onto Splitwise. They were afraid of other people, third-party companies coming in and taking their banking information. Let me tell you, that's actually not an excuse, because you can log into Splitwise, you can create a Splitwise account, and then you can pay that person by cash or outside of the Splitwise app, and you can still mark it as paid within the app. So make sure all your people are on Splitwise. In fact, if they're not on Splitwise, do not even let them in the door. Do not even let them in the door. Okay, they're going to cause problems. So yes, Splitwise majorly helps and get everybody on it.
I totally agree, Sammy. I think in those times we were more generous. So we were like, oh, okay, maybe you don't want to have Venmo. Maybe you don't want to have Splitwise. Look, if you're that person, you're being a pain in the ass. Like, it's so difficult to organize a cause. Like, I'm sorry. Like, unless you're, and even some of those people, like, they had cash ready. Like, it's not even like these people didn't want to pay, but it just makes it so they end up not paying for things. Like, it's really hard for everyone to then, like, do the accounting in their head. Don't make those kind of excuses. And, like, you should definitely feel comfortable hassling everybody to get on Splitwise or whatever tool you're using before the event actually starts.
I would say you should be, like, pretty intuitive to, like, what the bachelorette wants, because, like, you might want something, but, like, the bachelor might want, like, something very different. But at the end of the day, it's, like, just, like, have a fun time. And, like, honestly, it's a little important to keep a budget because people feel strongly about things, so.
Another thing that helps organize a bachelorette party is an excellent itinerary. As somebody who loves order, people who have awesome itineraries, you're just more likely to be my friend because I love that. I remember our friend Marcia, she organized her own bachelorette, and I love that one because it's like, she knows what she wants and that's what she's gonna do. And she had her itinerary in military time. She's a nurse, you know, so military time is how she runs. But it was like 1300, we're going to go get drinks, to 1400, we're going out to the bar. It's like, whoa.
So you know someone's serious about their itinerary.
Yeah.
I loved it for Pooja's wedding. The women who organized it, they had the most beautiful, color-coded spreadsheet itinerary sent to everybody before the event. It broke down what we're doing every day, what the major costs were, what outfits to wear, which, let me tell you, in a bachelorette is very important to know, because when you're packing, you need to know what you need to pack. And it made things so much easier. I was like talking about it to like random people when I would tell them, I'm like, oh my gosh, this itinerary is so good. And let me tell you, when you have that many people going to an event and spending that much money, you need to be places on time. You need to like organize Ubers and things like that. Like, the more organized you are, the better. And I have to say, like, some brides are really chill. I'm a chill person, so this is something I noticed. Some brides are really chill and they'll be uncommitted to making a decision during the event, or they'll be like, hey, like, what should we all do? Or I don't really care. It's like, no. What do you want to do? Tell me what you want to do. What's important to you? If you want to go out for the rest of the night, let us know. If you want to stay in, let us know. We can adjust. But if you have that many people at an event and you're not making firm decisions, or somebody's not making firm decisions, it's actually going to be more chaotic and more stressful.
Once whoever wins the $1,000 dowry competition for Michelle's husband gets her hitched, I will be planning the bachelorette party, so my lovely, agreeable sister does not have to worry about things not getting done correctly.
I literally hate party planning. The thought of planning my own party sounds terrible to me. So I relate to the chill brides. But I think it's good to know, like, if you are somebody who's like generally a people pleaser or you're trying to be flexible, have a strong opinion. That was a nice thing about my friend Pooja. Like, she actually made it clear that there were a couple things that she really wanted to do. And then she would check in with people when we were making decisions on what to do throughout the event. But by the time the Bachelorette came, I don't think there were too many decisions left to be made.
I think for all various bachelorettes, it's always nice to see people from different phases of someone's life come together, and you can see kind of either how they've changed over time or how they've remained the same. So that's always like a fun part of getting to know other people at the Bachelorette as well.
Your friend Anisha is 100% right. The bachelorettes can be 100% worth it. I think about back in 2019 when I was being my little spreadsheet nerd self, and I was calculating the cost of these bachelorettes. And I saw that both of these bachelorettes cost like about $1,500, just like savings.com said. And I thought, yes, I am happy to spend $1,500. At our friend Rimple's bachelorette, we hadn't seen her in many years. And it was nice to, one, just get to reconnect with her, and then two, see her friends who are also our friends and reconnect with them. And also meet her family members, meet her other friends. Because chances are, if you get along with the bride, you're also going to get along with other people in their lives. We also went to our friend Josina's bachelorette that year. And that was actually a bachelor party combo. Which, let me tell you, I was not sure about it. I was 100% not sure. I was like, I do not know about combining people like this. And it was so worth it. Because we got to meet her husband, we got to get to know him, we got to get to know his friends. It was just a lot of fun. And it completely changed my idea of a bachelorette or bachelor party combo. I'm now for them because it's just more people, more fun.
Yeah, the thing is then you see those people at the wedding. The wedding is a lot more fun. Now I know 14, 15 extra people at the wedding that I'm going to that I didn't know before. And I totally agree with you. Now we can actually see the full circle effect. Last year, we went to our friend Rimple's first baby's birthday party. We got to see the family again. We got to see the same friends. We were like laughing and sharing memories from the Bachelorette. It was so fun. And I think what I've realized is there are certain people in your life, especially certain weddings that you're going to go to, where these people they're in your life forever. My friend Pooja has been my friend for the last 10 years. Having the opportunity to meet her family members, having the opportunity to meet the other friends that she's made in life, it was so nice because not only am I going to see them in a month at the wedding, but I just know that I'll probably see them again later on in life too, because we're going to be at all the most meaningful events together moving forward.
I think that's really what building a wealthy spirit is about. It's not about just getting your finances in order for the sake of being wealthy. We're wealthy because that allows us to have opportunities for freedom, but it also allows opportunities for us to connect and build community, and it can help facilitate that. And having enough financial abundance to attend some of these events like bachelor or bachelorette parties where you really get to spend time with people you're very close to, that's the whole reason we do this.
100%, Sammy.
I would just say thank you to everybody for coming. It was such a lovely time, and people took time out of their life to be here, and it was really meaningful.
Takeaways.
So, takeaways. First and foremost, if you're traveling for a bachelorette or bachelor party, chances are you're going to be raking up the cost. Estimated party cost is about $1,500 total. Savings.com says that. We found that to be true in our own lives as well. So keep that in mind before committing to an event because, look, we love these people, but we do not want you to be one of those 1 and 2 people that go into credit card debt to attend an event.
Know your base cost. Travel, housing. There are things that you can predict before you go. So calculate those out. Get a little bit of a better feel of how much things are going to cost.
Understand where you can have flexibility in cost. Maybe you don't have to wear the same outfit as everybody every day. Maybe you can opt out of some of the swag. Maybe there are things that can be more flexible outside of those base costs. And if that's the case, I think just communicate with the bride, communicate with the party planners. People do want to try to be as accommodating as possible. And if you can figure out where those flexible costs are, you might be able to save some money if that's the season of life that you're in.
Organization is key. Get all your people on splitwise and don't let them make no excuse about it. Have an itinerary. If it's your bachelorette or bachelor party, make a nice organized itinerary because that just helps everybody out.
And once you do that, look at the numbers and you might be thinking, should I go? This is a big investment. We believe that if you pre-plan, you take a look at the costs, that'll give you an opportunity to weigh out whether or not this is something that's feasible for you. We have some really, really close friends that we were so happy to be able to have those experiences with them, and we found that it was totally worth the cost. At the same time, it's not always going to make sense for you for that season of your life, and so don't feel guilty if maybe that's something that you cannot attend.
If this is your frenemy, don't go.
Don't go. Do not. Trust me, you will regret spending that money.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully you're like us and you have wonderful people in your lives, wonderful women in your lives, and this is the opportunity where you can really spend time with the bride or groom in a way that honestly you probably won't get the opportunity to at the wedding.
Community time!
No, this is the right time for it to end.
Yeah, I know.
Like, we're like, we want to go home.
Before we say goodbye, we wanted to bring you all in for community time.
Speaking of Bachelorette, Sammy, one thing that was a nightmare for me was that my flight was delayed 6 or 7 hours coming back from the Bachelorette, which would be annoying most of the time. You know, I didn't get a lot of sleep during the Bachelorette. I'm traveling cross country, but I also have to drive home 2.5 hours once I land. So I landed, I got in my car, I was in a little shuttle with this little old couple, married 45 years, and they were like, I'm sorry, you're driving by yourself? They're like, please take a break. We're worried about you. And I was like, no, I'm fine. But I was a little concerned because it was getting late. It was getting dark. But I did think I could do it. So I was like, okay, I have enough time. I landed at a reasonable enough time. Let me go. And I'm going to tell you, like, I did start to get in the groove. I felt really great. I was familiar with the drive. And at like that 30-minute mark, I remember being like, yes, I only have half an hour left. And then I swear I went through the craziest windstorm of my life. I literally felt like my car was being shoved in the other direction. And I was holding onto dear life in my steering wheel. I literally felt like a captain of a ship. And meanwhile, there were these signs that were popping up that were like, be careful, traffic is stopped. And so I was like, oh, like I've never seen stopped traffic near our home. Like this must be pretty serious. So I was like holding on, gripping these trucks. I had like 6 trucks around me. I was like, let me be careful. I know trucks can go a little bit crazy in the wind. Then one of the trucks starts tailing me. Apparently I'm driving too slow. So I I move to the next lane. Trucks go by. I make it home. That was maybe 5 minutes, but I was like, I can't believe I was almost home. And then all of a sudden this like giant windstorm just came at me.
And it was a giant windstorm. In fact, it was about to be a haboob.
A haboob.
And for those of you who are not familiar with haboobs,
which we were not.
We were not before we moved here. We're like, haboob, that sounds quite Middle Eastern. In fact, that's where the term comes from. It is an intense dust storm.
Yeah, I felt very validated the next day. There was a literal dust storm warning. And so I was like, see guys, I'm not crazy. Like it was really windy.
These dust storms, there's like so much dust in the air that like you can't see. Normally we can see like
miles,
50 miles out. Like it's quite far. You can see the mountains all the way in the back. But with these dust storms, like you can barely see like 50 feet in front of you. It gets crazy. And the next day we had tons of wind. It seemed like we were going to have one of these dust storms. And everybody was getting a little crazy. And I'm talking about the dogs. Our neighbor has these 2 German shepherds. And they are oftentimes roaming around. I don't know why. But they were in their little home. And they were trying to, like one of them had escaped outside the gate. And then the other one we saw trying to escape. And like there's like the gate underneath, you can kind of dig a little hole and a little dog could fit through there. But this big German Shepherd was trying to roll underneath sideways, and its other little German Shepherd friend was like just like cheering it on. Finally, the dog gets out and they're like frolicking like crazy. They were like, these dogs were the happiest dogs. They were just like running up and down our street. It was like a trail of dogs. They got another Chihuahua to join them. And they were all having a good time until my poor neighbor's kid had to go get his car and like get these dogs back into the car.
Meanwhile, I was like the only one of my family members concerned. I was like, should we tell our neighbor that his dogs are escaping? They were literally like digging their way out of the fence. And my mom, sister, and dad were like, no, let them be free.
I just didn't realize it was their dogs. Like, to be honest, I just didn't know that that was their dogs.
Why would they have random dogs trapped inside their house?
I don't know. I was just wondering, like, why do the dogs trapped in their house, you know?
Your animal empathy for this family is insane. I was the only person who actually felt bad for our neighbor. Everybody else was like cheering them on like it was a movie. Like they were like, be free, be free. We were watching this like it was television. It was the most interesting thing that happened that weekend. Outside of that, though, we also have some community shout outs because we've been getting some lovely feedback from people in our community.
Yes.
Based on our last few episodes. Nate sent me a sweet message on Twitter. He said, I really like the latest episode, Small Town, Big Money. I think the topic is so important to think about, especially those phantom cost. Which, by the way, me and Sammy loved this episode. Like, we just had so much fun recording it.
Yes.
And he said, I have to guard myself from shiny object syndrome. Somebody called this being a CUDA, short for barracuda fish. Barracuda fish who just go towards shiny things. Do I need a brand new car? Do I need the most expensive one with all the bells and whistles? What problems does it solve for me? How does this align with my other financial goals? I loved it, Nate. Such a great comment and so, so true. Never heard of a barracuda before.
You haven't heard of the animal barracuda?
I've heard of the animal barracuda.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Like the song Barracuda.
Yes, I know. Yes, exactly. I wasn't sure if this the object thing with the barracudas was because barracudas are shiny. Because when I looked up a barracuda, it was really shiny. But turns out they also like to move towards shiny things. But in their case, it's not that dumb because they are also, like, they eat these really shiny fish. So it kind of makes sense. And speaking of shiny object syndrome, I completely agree. One time I bought Kim Kardashian's perfume because it was in this container that looks like a crystal. And it was so pretty. And, you know, I bought it online, so I didn't even smell the perfume. The smell is okay.
I have the same problem also with Kim Kardashian's perfume. And I'm pretty sure my credit card got hacked after that because it's not a legitimate website. Those are the type of sites that you should probably be careful where you're giving your information to.
We also got a message from Alexander from Sydney.
Yes, he's in my Small Bets group, which Small Bets community shout out. There's so many people who listen to this podcast. Actually, Erica of the Me Bet, that's how we know each other. And so he sent me a really sweet message. He said, just discovered your podcast, love it, and always good to see more FI enthusiasts. We love FI enthusiasts.
Yes, he actually got to go to Chautauqua, which was organized by JL Collins. And if you guys are looking to like meet people in the financial independence community, there's events like Chautauqua or Camp FI or the Economy Conference where you can go and meet other financially minded people. Great way to build community with people who have a similar mindset.
Yeah, we're going to try to do more of those this year and next year as well.
Yes.
And also shout out to Camilo, who said that he really enjoyed the step-by-step guide to finding your passion. He highlighted that one of the things that he really enjoyed was just this distinction between your job not having to be your passion, which, Sammy, I think we totally agree with. Like, I think you can enjoy your job. I think you can be happy at your job. I think you can like your coworkers. It doesn't mean it has to be your calling, and that's okay.
It doesn't mean you have to be like obsessed with it.
You don't have to be obsessed with your job.
Like, don't trip. Like, it might be like, I don't hate being there. It's fine. It's nice. But you don't need to be like, oh, I love this so much. You know, I love hanging out with my friends and talking. I don't know if I love my job the same way.
Exactly. If you do, more power to you. But sometimes there can be a lot of pressure in that regard.
Yes.
So, guys, obviously, we love to hear from you. You can find us in different mediums, but also buildawealthyspirit.com. We have a nice page and comment section that accompanies all of our podcasts now, buildawealthyspirit.com. Feel free to go there, leave a comment, and we might give you a shout out in our community time. Thanks so much.
And most importantly, be sure to join us next time. as we put down the rulebook and we rethink the status quo.